They had what's called dancing cheek to cheek. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Heaven, I'm in heaven. Da, 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 da. And that's actually the song called Dancing Cheek to Cheek. And that was a bigger scandal, believe it or not. People dancing closely was a huge scandal, more so than what happened in the 50s with rock and roll. Because then you had Elvis Presley, and he's, gyrating his hips, and he was actually, on television they said, don't show him from below the waist, okay? Only the upper torso. It's against the, regulations of the television. So, and that was a huge, and most of you know that, that was, rock and roll has always been somehow a little scandalous or something that upsets parents and stuff like that. But the dancing cheek to cheek in the 30s was more of a scandal, believe it or not. But it wasn't as widely known about because we didn't have all the media and everything. But then when rock and roll started in 1950, what happened? A backbeat started happening. Boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, boom, bap, boom, boom. Bap. It made people crazy, okay? And they're still crazy because of that, okay? The jazz continued on, so it really diverged into two streams, okay? And not to mention, we also have classical music, which is really European music, largely, okay? Got a little Mozart, whatever. I clearly can't play that standing up. I actually recorded that on an album called Rhapsody in Blue, but that's a Mozart minuet or sonata, actually. But that's European music, okay? Jazz and R&B and hip hop and rock and roll and everything else basically is American music. So that's something really kind of cool. Now, of course, you have British Isles music, which contributed to rock and roll and too. So there are other things. Obviously, Indian music but popular music, as we know it, commercial music, is an American invention. That's something that we can kind of be proud of. You know what I mean? It's one thing that we still export. That we are the primary. And if you ever travel abroad, you will see it, because you will go any other country, go into any little store or whatever, they're going to be playing "The Girl from Ipanema," I promise you, which apparently is the most popular song in the world, because when I was in Italy and Europe, it's like everywhere I go, "Girl from Ipanema." But also other American music, so it's something that is an export, that people think of as this cool thing that they themselves don't necessarily create. Now, I know there are great jazz musicians from Europe, and there's K-pop now and all these other things, but it still started here, right? Questions? Did that answer your question about jazz genres?
Yeah.
Very, very wide genre. And it's irritating to me too, because a lot of people don't like jazz, if you didn't know. It's a very small percentage, even smaller than the number of people who like classical, which is like maybe 2% or something. And jazz is like part of 1% or something. But people hear like maybe a random jazz group down somewhere, Deep Ellum or wherever, and it's all crazy and wild, and who knows if they just got a sax last week and started blowing on it, and they think, ooh, I don't like jazz. That's terrible, when in fact they just didn't like that band. You know what I mean? So you have to keep that in mind.
Bogle,
Yes.
it just hit me, out of all the time you've been talking about the flavors.
Yes.
Is there any way I can get that list of the flavors? Because,
Yes.
like I said, it just hit me about those flavors. Now,
Okay.
I'm recording it, but I'm curious about those different flavors that you have.
Yes.
Is there any way I can get that for you today?
Yes, sir. Today.
Thank you. Okay,
Before
one more
you-
question.
Yes.
I wanted to ask him, as I'm talking to you, I'm talking about you now, yeah. as I'm talking to you right now, are you able to tell me what key I'm talking in?
That's F sharp.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I wonder what I talked in.
Let's see.
You're kind of all over the place.
Oh, okay, I can see that too.
You go up and down a lot more.
Up, down, up,
I guess
down,
it's not
up,
gonna
down.
let me.
It's the radio voice, that's why.
I was gonna play something
There you go.
for you guys, hopefully, if the Facebook gods will cooperate.
Come on, internet, you can do it.
Let's see here. Where is my friend? Let's see what this thing-
Should I turn off the lights?
Not just yet, not
Okay.
just yet. Rafael Valencia, let's search for him first, there we go. Valencia. There he is, and he sent me, well, thought he did. Here it is, right here. There we go, on this page. Check this out. This is pretty cool.
La salsiccia piccante, quella dolce, provolone, le olive, come verdure finocchi,
Look
segano,
at the light.
ognuno decide. E di primo,
Oh, light, sorry.
di primo è davanti alla la partigiana,
You got it, you got it.
ancora
Okay.
come le celle della pasta, sono tante cose. Il secondo, la brace accesa, tagliere spedite, salsiccia arrosto. Che cosa si mangia il giorno di Ferragosto? La salsiccia piccante, quella dolce, provolone, le olive, come verdure finocchi, segano, ognuno decide. E di primo è davanti alla la partigiana, che ancora come le celle della pasta, sono tante cose. Il secondo, la brace accesa, tagliere spedite, salsiccia arrosto.
That's
Che
fine.
cosa si mangia il giorno di Ferragosto? La salsiccia piccante.
Isn't that neat? Now they made a whole song out of a recipe, basically, right? So that's, what you can do with music.